Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a review and swatch video on the new Modern Renaissance palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. Oh my god, I've been waiting so long to get my hands on this and it finally came in the mail like 2 days ago and I've already gotten my full opinion. I've used it like crazy just in the last 2 days. Like, look at it. It's already like beaten up. So yeah, let's just get right into the review on the Modern Renaissance palette. I love my matte warm tones very much, and this palette includes it. They also include my favorite shimmer shades, like my absolute favorite ride or die shimmer shades, which is amazing. I love the formula on these shadows. These shadows are so pigmented, so creamy, so easy to blend, like extremely easy to blend. I don't think I've ever had an eyeshadow blend as easily as this in this palette. They're highly pigmented, like they are like drenched in color. The only con I would have about this palette, I don't love the packaging. I love the color of the packaging, but I don't like the material. I wish it was not felt, because it's gonna get dirty because it is a light shade and I'm just not a fan of like the cardboard and felt packaging. But put that aside, the palette's great, so I kind of look beyond that. It does come with a brush. It's a dual-ended brush with a fluffy side and then like a more flat shader side. I do not like the brush it comes with. This brush is shedding like a lot. The second I opened it, I just did this and it like shedded all over my hand. This side not as much. I feel like there should have been a little more thought going into this brush, but again, I can overlook it because the palette is just so good. So this brush was a little disappointing to me, but I still love the palette. And then the other con that might disappoint many people or bother many people is, this doesn't bother me, but some people might be bothered by this. When you put your brush in some of these shadows, example, like you put your brush in and it creates a lot of powder, right? A lot of like fallout is created, but I feel like all that powder is there because these are so drenched in color and most of them are mattes. You get 10 mattes and 4 shimmer sheen shades. I think that's kind of uncommon in most palettes. Most palettes have more shimmers than mattes, but I love how they incorporated mattes and shimmers and a lot of mattes in these shades, especially because all the darker shades are mostly mattes. With the Access product falling out, if it does get under your eye, it won't wreck your makeup. I can just take a nice fluffy brush, go like this, and it's gone. It will not wreck the makeup, my foundation, my concealer. It will not wreck that, which I'm really happy about. So yes, I love the formula on these eyeshadows. I think it's absolutely amazing. So pigmented, highly creamy and highly pigmented, and so easy to work with. My eyeshadows have never blended out so easily as they did with this palette, so this is a really great palette. I highly recommend it. This retails for $50 Canadian, 40 something US, which I think is amazing. You get 14 shades and that means it's about $3.70-ish for each eyeshadow, which is less than a drugstore price. So I think this is at a great price point. $50 for 14 shades I think is really nice. And just the setup of the shades, it makes me want to create eyeshadow looks. Some palettes, like example, the Urban Decay Naked palette, although everyone loves it, and yes, the formula is absolutely amazing, I am not inspired when I look at this palette. I am simply not inspired. I really have to think of a look before I dive into this. Whereas with this palette, I feel like the way all these shadows are laid out, I just get inspired and I have so many looks in mind that you could do with this palette. So I highly recommend this if you love your warm tone shades. So let's get into the swatches so you guys can see the actual magic of this palette. So the first shade we have is Tempera. I love this shade. It's really great to set your eyelid after primer because it's just a really nice base color. It's really nice to highlight the brow bone. It's just a all over great matte highlight, which I think every single palette needs. Right beside that is Golden Ochre. This is a like warm tone golden mustard type shade. I really like this in my transition, and I think it's really nice just to create a soft transition shade. Next shade is probably one of my favorites out of the whole palette, like definitely top 5. This is Vermeer, and it's a shimmery champagne pink, which are my like favorite shimmery shades. This one swatches so beautifully. It's so highly pigmented and it just glides on the eyelid and looks flawless. I absolutely love this one. Next shade is another matte. We have Bon Fresco. I would say this is the only cool tone shade in the palette. It has a very taupey, mauvey undertone to it. But I really love the shade. I think it's so unique and I've never seen a shade like this. The next shade in the palette is not a matte. This has a nice sheen to it. It is called Antique Bronze, and I would say it's a bronze color with a lot of purple undertones in it. I think it's really pretty. If you're doing a dramatic brown eye look, this one would be gorgeous all over the lid. Next shade is another matte. This one is called Love Letter. This has to be one of my favorites out of the whole palette. I absolutely love it. It's a maroon with a lot of pink and mauve undertones in it. It's absolutely beautiful, and maroon shades have been so in trend right now, and I love that they included a matte maroon purple shade. It's so gorgeous and it looks beautiful with all the colors in this palette. And the last shade in the top row is Cypress Umber. This one is a deep chocolatey warm tone brown shade. It's matte, and I love that they gave a matte brown so you can darken up any look. And it's just, I feel like, an essential in any palette, so I love that they offered that, and it's so pigmented and blends effortlessly. Second row is so beautiful. So the first shade is Raw Sienna. This one is so beautiful. It's the shade I used in my transition. It's just a warm tone brown with slight orange undertones. It's so gorgeous. I don't even know how to describe it, but on the eyes it looks great and it defines your eyes so nicely. Next shade to Raw Sienna is Burnt Orange. This one is very similar to Raw Sienna. They're very close together, but Burnt Orange has more orange undertones. It's more it has more peach undertones, whereas Raw Sienna has more brown and beige to it, but they're both beautiful. And if you want to incorporate more orange into your look, I would really suggest using Burnt Orange as your transition. Next we have another shimmer shade. This one is called Primavera. This is the shade that's on my lid right now, that gold shade. This is so beautiful. Swatches gorgeous and is just magnificent, wet or dry. I used it wet today, but dry too. It is so pigmented, glides on the eyes and looks flawless. Next shade we have Red Ochre. This is the shade that I have in the inner part and the outer part of my lid. This, I have to say, is my favorite shade out of the whole palette. I've been using it insanely. It's right here, and it's just a warm tone red with a lot of burgundy and brick kind of shade undertones. It's so pretty and goes perfect with the gold, I think, and really is great for those of you who love warm tone shades. Next shade is Venetine Red. This is very similar to Love Letter, but this one has more maroon undertones than the mauve, and this one has a slight sheen to it. You can still use it as your transition shades and act as if it's a matte shade. It's very slight sheen to it, but the sheen makes it kind of different from Love Letter, so you don't just have two maroon shades that are both matte, so this one has a tiny bit of a sheen to it. Next shade is Warm Taupe. This is a nice transition shade. I also use this one as my transition, but it's very hard to describe. It's kind of like a dusty taupey, but still warm at the same time. It's not a cool tone taupe, it's a warm taupe, just like the name suggests, and it's great for using as a transition. And the last shade in this palette is Real Gar, and this is a straight up orange. It is like pumpkin orange. I'm so excited to use this shade. I have yet to use it, but I've swatched it so many times, and I think it'll look beautiful around fall time and stuff because it is so warm and gorgeous, and it can be paired with so many looks. You can just slap it in the crease and it will make the whole look very nice and warm. Okay guys, so that's it for the swatches, and it also brings this video to an end. I highly, highly recommend this palette, and if you're like me and love your warm tones and your maroons and reds and oranges and all these shades, you will really, really like this palette. I think it's a great palette. Make sure to tell me your thoughts on the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette, if you have it, if you don't, if you want it, if you love it, you know. Tell me everything. I'd love to know what you guys think about it as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!